Right then, welcome back to the channel. Stephen Howson, tactical preview, Manchester United against Fulham. In this video, I'm going to be looking a little bit about how Fulham play specifically under Silva, what makes them as good as they have been, the United 11 that I think is going to beat them, and then how I think that game's going to go. Sound like a plan? It sounds like a plan, doesn't it? Right, okay, so we are kicking off tomorrow. We are another Sunday fixture for us in this early season clash. Obviously, we lost 1-0 to Arsenal last week, despite what was a very positive and energetic performance. Fulham managed to bag a 1-1 draw at Brighton. Shows their ability to compete, but also the inconsistency, which is why they're a mid-table team, more or less. For United, this game represents an opportunity to leverage that revamped forward line. This represents an opportunity for 3 points, and I really think, despite the positive sentiment from last week, coming away here with less than a win is not going to feel too good, I don't think. And there are still few questions. What's the midfield going to look like? Is there a way for us to compete with what is a very energetic and hard-working Fulham side? Can our revamped attack cut through a side that's hard to break down like Fulham? Fulham are missing a huge player for them in Anthony Robinson, who is missing at the start of the season while he recovers from knee surgery. That bodes well for us because Robinson was a real vital outlet for Fulham last season and a real positive attacking asset for them.
We're in August. Time is absolutely flying, and this year is absolutely flying. But here's the thing, just because the year is more than half over doesn't mean that your goals have to be. In fact, why not start now? Why not make this the month where you finally take back control of that one thing that you've been meaning to quit? You know, the one, whatever it is that you're struggling with, that you're dealing with, that is where Fume comes in. This little thing, right? This tiny little thing right here. It's not a vape, it's not a gimmick, it's just a powerful, natural tool for real change. There is no nicotine, there is no vapor, there are no batteries, just clean, flavored air in a product that is designed to help you break free from whatever it is that you're struggling with. You've got flavors like cinnamon hearts, like licorice, you've got a really refreshing spearmint, and that turns whatever it is that you're trying to do into a sensory experience that just feels good. You get flavor in your mouth and not in your lungs. And you can use it anywhere, anytime, on a plane if you wanted to, because it's just a tube. It's a bit of wood, it's a bit of metal with some sort of flavor inside. That's it. And more than that, it keeps your hands engaged. You've got something in your hand that you can use that can take your mind away from it a little bit. It's going to occupy you, and it's not passive. Like you feel like you're doing something any time that you reach from it. And there's over 500,000 people that have already got involved. Real people are seeing change and progress over excuses. So if you're ready to turn the page, to finish 2025 stronger than you started, this is your chance to sign up. If you use the code Stephen Howson, that's STEPHEN Howson, HOWSON, at tryfume.com, you're going to get a free Fume topper with the journey pack. That's tryfum.com, or scan the QR code that is on screen right now. Do not wait for January to make a change. Take the win now with Fume.
Now, it is Marco Silva. He is in his 5th season. He has made them very tough to play against and quite effective with the ball. He lines up in what looks like a 4-2-3-1. That morphs into a 4-3-3 during build-up and in possession. They love the wide rotations in attack, and that's where Anthony Robinson came into it mostly. They've not really freshened up their squad at all this summer. They were in a favourable PSR position, so it's nothing to do with that. The core group of players does remain exactly the same as we saw it last season, but that does risk Fulham treading water. Now, on the flip side of that, the players know the system and they know their roles within that system. There's no one new to settle in. That can be quite a positive for them, but I think standing still in the Premier League invariably means that you've probably gone backwards a little bit. Now, typically, this team will look to play out from the back. You will see Calvin Bassey in particular, the defender that is most comfortable with the ball. He will try to generally play vertical or occasionally drive with the ball as he's pressed. With Robinson injured, Bassey might end up being deployed at left back. Any unfamiliarity with the system will benefit United in this instance, and it's an approach that has proven relatively risky for them, with Fulham's fullback and defensive midfielder adjusting to try and give them an option to cover for Robinson missing. The positioning of Fulham's wingers has been one of the really key elements to why they've been so competitive offensively. Without the ball, one of their wingers will drop back and they will make a back five. That's very interesting because I think when United try to push forward and make it a forward five, covering each of the vertical channels of the pitch, we could see United going 1v1. Now, most coaches are going to want their defensive line to be +1, which means that technically Marco Silva might want to drop somebody else in. He might use one of the midfielders to try and pick up one of the offensive sort of half space attacking forwards, inside forwards. I don't know what to call them. And we need a better name because it's not number 10s. Number 10s is not wide. Wide forwards. Like, I need a name for them that we can flip to all the time because it befuddles me every time I want to talk about them. And they're not wingers. They're not number 10s. Forwards. That's not a striker. United's forwards. They don't occupy the final space in the line. They drop into just in front. Now, you could have your back five dealing with 4 of those as long as one of the defensive midfielders is tight to what's realistically going to be Cunha, I think, as the one that's dropping off and trying to knit things in that space. When they're in attack, what you will see is their wide players will rotate. They will use central midfielders or attackers who've tracked back to try and create passing triangles. That's how they've been so effective. That's why Anthony Robinson finds himself in the final third doing damage to teams. In the defensive setup, pressing is encouraged, but it's quite controlled. It's not all-out press. It's not press wherever they are. The team defends in quite a disciplined mid-block. Wingers will drop to defend, but they will also drop down and play in the middle. They look to try and disrupt what the opposition's doing. They look to try and catch runners. They look to try and overload, as does every team. And it's only, timing and work rate and player intelligence, which is the difference between most teams. Every team wants to work hard off the ball. Every team wants to deny you space. Every team decides when and where to press and how to set pressing traps. There's no one's reinventing the wheel here. Everybody tries to do that. Now, Fulham, I would argue, are particularly physical. They try and blend that physicality with quite vertical, sometimes risky attacking football. They try and get the ball forward quickly. They do try and exploit that physical advantage in midfield. And that, for me, is where this game gets won and lost from a United point of view. Manchester United's midfield, as I've said so many times, I'm bored of hearing myself say it. There's no natural fits for this. Bruno's going to play. Okay, cool. Bruno plays, what are you getting? You're getting energy, you're getting work rate. Cool. What are you not getting? You're not getting discipline, you're not getting someone holding the line. Okay, cool. So who do you play alongside him? Hence why Baleba is wanted by United, because these are the situations that you find yourself in. Now, because they're going to play physical, strong central midfield presence, I think what United have to do is find our best ball player. And for me, United's best ball player, the one that can deal with being pressed, the one that can knit the passes the best, is probably Kobbie Mainoo. Now, because of the height and the muscle and the weight of Fulham's midfield, Casemiro's not a bad option either. I thought Casemiro played pretty well last week. So I would not be surprised to see United go with a pivot that is Bruno and Casemiro. But I also wouldn't be surprised to see it be Kobbie Mainoo either. Now, the likes of Josh King, Alex Iwobi, Emile Smith-Rowe, they're going to be the ones that are asked to provide the creativity. And their attacking midfielders will also drift wide, looking for space. Almost every player is versatile. Almost every player can rotate and play in multiple positions. Like everything, they are well drilled, and that might be their strategic advantage this season, is that they are not looking at new players trying to figure out a system. They know their system, and they're not bad at it either. Fulham are a pretty balanced side. They score and concede at a very similar rate, very average in everything they do, which is why they are a mid-table team. Literally mid-table translates to average, doesn't it? They've had 164 goals for and 168 against in the last 3 seasons. Average. But that average leads to inconsistencies, especially against some of the top sides. They can win and they can lose. Average. They still play or try to play. They try to play their game against the sides that they're probably not expected to beat. They still look for short passing, and sometimes that doesn't work. Against United, I expect Marco Silva's probably going to want to try and take advantage of the quick turnovers, to try and play quick vertical passes up top. Because United are going to flood so many players forward, he's going to look to try and get in against our back three as quickly and as often as possible. And the disconnect between United's midfield and that defensive three is where the gaps will be. Fulham generally do try and adapt on some level to their opposition, and they will decide whether it is more suitable to try and overload centrally or try and go wide. If I was coaching against United, I would try and overload us centrally, because I think there are huge gaps in the middle of the pitch. I think because you've got wide centre-halves, wing-backs, and these wide forwards, I think in the channels, United have got numbers. I think it's the centre of the pitch where United probably have to work a little bit harder or have someone with a little bit more discipline than you typically get from a Bruno, Mainu, Casemiro, Ugarte, even pivot. So I think Fulham are going to look to try and combine and overload centrally, and they might find some joy doing that. In terms of a United 11, I went for Tom Heaton, Lenny Yoro, De Ligt and Shaw as my back line, and I absolutely go with Heaton over Bayindir. Whether or not he does that, I would. The four across the middle, Dorgu's a shoe-in. He was great last week. I went with Mainu and Bruno. Again, I could see the case for Casemiro being deployed alongside Bruno. But I would go with Mainu because I want to see United move the ball, and I want to see quite an offensive midfield too. Now, as I wrote that, I then thought, do you know what? I chose Ahmad as my right wing back because I was thinking, let's just have him. Let's just stick it on him and let's have him. But I think if you're going to have Bruno and Mainu, you might go with Delo. And you also might go with Delo because we did see Mbeumo and Ahmad occupying similar spaces. That might take a few weeks to iron the kinks out of. But because they were occupying similar spaces and because essentially you get the same style of output from those two, I think Delo right foot lofted crosses for Benjamin Sesko might be a technique and a way of method of attack that we've never been able to utilise that might be something to utilise. So even though I initially wrote down Ahmad, I changed my mind and I went with Delo. So we'll go with Delo. Two reasons, offensive and defensive, which is a fantastic reason to have someone in a team if you've got both reasons. Offensively, I want to see him crossing that ball just beyond the penalty spot for big old Benji to get his napper on. And defensively, because he's naturally a fullback rather than a winger, he will probably make it a bit more of a lopsided 4-2-4, and I don't mind that because the midfield's probably going to be relatively offensive and struggle to cover. So him being that extra man in defence, probably a good thing. And Mbeumo and Cunha are the easiest two names to write down on this list. And like I said, Benjamin Sesko. There's my United 11. Now, to beat Fulham, United have to take advantage of their riskier elements of their game. They're not going to get loads of numbers behind the ball. They have a tendency to become open and sometimes messy, and especially late in the game, they can get, even if the game's tight, they can just have brain farts and decide to get very risky with it. The game could be a bit of an exchange of counter-attacks. United want, and one of the reasons why I chose Kobe Mainu in my 11, United are going to want to try and control that a little bit better. If you can get quick transitions, if you can try and exploit turnovers in midfield, the way we saw them doing against Arsenal, if you can punish any overcommitment while you remain disciplined, you can have a go at them. And United's attacking group can capitalise on that weakness in the Fulham team, especially with Anthony Robinson missing. Match winner for United, I think Dorgu. I think his energy, his tenacity, his work rate, his explosiveness, and I think him having a target to aim for in Benjamin Sesko, and his ability to lock down attackers will be massively key to what United do in this game. That's it from me. That's how I see the game going. That's how I see Fulham playing. That's how I see United playing and breaking Fulham down. Let me know in the comments what you think the score is going to be, and who you think is going to be the match winner for United. And do we need all 3 points? Loads of questions there. Get in the comments. See you in the next one. Laters. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, five-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.